Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Future of Work event, specifically designed around government and the public sector. My name is Scott Edwards, and I am a Senior Director of Solutions Marketing at the Cisco Webex team. Now, I'm very excited to get into our discussion today. You know, for many governing agencies, the pandemic really tested their ability to be able to work remotely and do it at scale. And what we've witnessed is how these governing bodies could still meet at any time. Government officials could meet with their constituents, and their court systems could continue to operate, and they were able to vote and move work forward. But I also want to talk about, in our discussion today, how we are reimagining how collaboration can improve government services today and in the future. So let's get right into it. Our first discussion today is going to be a panel discussion, and we're going to go to the Netherlands. We're going to hear from Jean-Pierre Overbeek, who is the CEO of BIS Econocom, as well as Chris Gansma, who is the program manager at the CIO's office of the Dutch government. It's going to be interesting as we're going to hear from them about how the pandemic affected those governing agencies and the solutions that they implemented in order to make sure that their employees could work remotely and get work done. Our second session, we'll talk with Jean Rosauer, who is a vice president of product management within the Webex Cisco business. She's going to demo for us a new solution from the Cisco Webex team that is purpose-built for governments, so they can have a secure collaboration tool in order to help them meet, vote, and again, get work done. But first, let's turn our attention to the amazing story of how the Dutch government was able to continue their business operations and the lessons that they want to share with all of you of best practices of how they were able to transform their governing operations. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our panel discussion on the future of work, specifically in government. And I'm thrilled to get into this discussion today because we have some people who are expert in this realm, and I'm excited to have them join us and bring them in to have a conversation with them. So we have two people. We have Jean-Pierre Overbeek, who is the CEO of BIS Econocom. Jean-Pierre, welcome.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
We also have Kim Grasma, who is the program manager at the CIO office of the Dutch government. Kim, welcome.
Thank you so much.
All right, so let's get into this. And what I'll do is Jean-Pierre, I'll start with you. Want to have some discussions with you a little bit, and then Kim will also bring you into this discussion to hear a little bit more about your story. So Jean-Pierre, I know BIS Econocom is a provider of audio-visual and IT total solutions, but maybe if you could start, just tell us a little bit about what your company does and what you specialize in.
Pleasure. BIS Econocom is one of the largest Pro AV companies in Europe. We specialize in video conferencing, audiovisual solution for the corporate markets, governmental markets, healthcare, and education. That's what we do. We are part of the Econocom group. It's a very large group in Europe, which is specializing in providing the digital transformation for their clients, both with the technology, but also on the financing side. So we provide the financing solution as well. That's what we do.
Awesome. Now, I'm sure 2020 has been just a complete seamless, no big deal of a year for you and your organization. Actually, I'm sure that's not true. But so I'm curious to know, like, what have you seen that government entities have tried to do to maintain operations since the pandemic has started?
Well, it's been a very, very strange year for all of us. And luckily, a large part of our organization has maintained a close relationship with a lot of our customers. And what we do, usually we furnish offices with technology and with solutions. But what we have been doing over the last 6 to 7 months is creating this virtual, real new environment for them, enabling them to meet either by audio or preferably by video as well. That's what we have been doing. For the Dutch government, more specifically, we have been their partner for over 10 years. And what we have done in those last few years, we have built a roadmap for them to enable time and location independent work. But during the pandemic, they moved very, very fast and swiftly within several weeks to remote work. That was in March, that was the governance which was set out by the Dutch government. People have to work from home. So once that was set, within 2 weeks' time, we provided 120,000 governmental workers with Webex solutions. That's what we did in that time frame.
So prior to that, what was the mindset of remote work specifically? I know you were working with the Dutch government, but what was the mindset, and has that changed from your perspective?
It has changed dramatically. A few people had the vision to enable this. That's the reason that we had a roadmap to combining all that visions towards the future and in time and location independent work. But cloud was prohibited. No use of cloud. People had to work in the office due to several laws and regulation. And suddenly, due to the pandemic, which was extremely disruptive on that part, that changed completely. And within 2 weeks' time, people had to work from home. So it's not so much about the technology, but it's also about the behavior set of people, what they need to do in this time.
And I think as you said, it was it was forced upon everyone, and that mindset probably changed. That we can do work remotely. That is possible. So I'm just curious. Do you see that flexibility of remote work as something that governing bodies will embrace in the future?
Yeah, for sure, but not because it's forced upon them, because they want to do. With 120,000 people, there's a lot of traveling, there's a lot of meetings, there's a lot of interacting with logistics and stuff like that. And I think that will change for the future, for sure. But people are then having the choice to work 1 or 2 or 3 days from home, and the other 2 or 3 days you meet each other live, because nothing can replace that, in our opinion. But the other days, it's far more efficient. So if you can combine those, and we call it the hybrid setting or the hybrid future, that's something we foresee for sure. Yeah.
Yes. So you mentioned some interesting things, right? So it's like they see some benefits. So instead of being forced upon everyone, right? Now I see the benefits, and probably they wanted to do this a little bit before. Now they really have the ability and the capability to do it, because it's been proven that it works. Do you see some of that? Hey, we can get work done. We don't have to be there. In fact, in some ways, it's a better experience for me because I don't have to travel, or maybe because the solution that I use to connect is a better than, in some cases, a face-to-face experience.
Yeah, just to sketch some scale, we are hosting now 20,000 meetings a day. So if people need to travel half an hour or an hour to go to that meeting or prepare it or whatever, times 20,000, it blows your mind when you take into the assumption of the calculation. So in the future, it won't be 20,000, but if we remain or 10,000 or 15,000 meetings which are hosted virtually, then I think the ROI is fantastic. So that's the scale is huge.
So it's benefits for both the government agency itself, right, from an ROI perspective, some cost efficiencies, some benefits for those employees at the government, obviously, as well. And so, I think that is fantastic, and you've seen that, right? And that it can scale. I think, what did you say? Up to 20,000 meetings
a day.
A day, right? So people are adopting the technology that enables them to, and they've seen that they can actually get work done, which is fantastic and impressive. So Jean-Pierre, that is fascinating. That's interesting, and I want to bring you in a little bit more later as we kind of get into the story, as you mentioned the implementation of how your organization, along with Cisco WebEx and Avid, brought a solution to the Dutch government to help them. So with that, I want to bring in Kim, and Kim, I want to hear a little bit more from your side and your perspective of this as well. So Kim, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, I'm a program manager at the CIO office for the Dutch government. And the specific program that I am tasked with has to do with IT integration. while we do have a lot of central functions in our government, we don't have our IT centralized, which means there were some challenges with working together. One of those topics was actually video conferencing, which led us to make a centralized video platform in 2017. And from that video platform came Webex. So that's why I'm so heavily involved with the transition to Webex.
Well, that's great. So if you would, paint the picture for us a little bit of how the Dutch government reacted to the pandemic. Just kind of highlight for us what happened and some of the quick changes that had to be made.
Well, the government, our ministers, they enforced a very harsh lockdown very quickly. So on one Thursday evening, everybody got a call, looking at the television, seeing that there was no going to the office from now on. Well, actually my own bag was packed to go the next day. So everybody had to adapt from, an organizational to a personal level very quickly. And then you think like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? Because we do actually have a very flexible work schedule already. So a lot of people are already used to working 1 or 2 days a week from home, or even occasionally. But now it had to be full time. I mean, there were meetings already scheduled to take place. So what happened is our video conferencing was not equipped to handle that kind of volume. And we were already talking with Cisco and BIS about possibly introducing a hybrid video solution with a pilot in 2021. So we talked a lot about the system and about the techniques, and so we knew a lot about it. So we had to make a very swift decision, and the decision was made to enroll the whole body of the central government in Webex right away. And we were able to do so together within 2 weeks. So, we had to do several thousand people a day, and within 2 weeks, all of the Dutch government employees were able to use Webex.
That is impressive. To stand up that many remote workers, or in that kind of that digital workplace environment, in what you said, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Two weeks. So how, and maybe Jean-Pierre, I can ask you kind of from an implementation standpoint, how was this accomplished?
Well, what Kim said, I think that the plan was already there. That helped tremendously. So the people working in the different departments and ministries already were somewhat aligned on how to implement this. So the roadmap was there. We were already creating an environment in which the Dutch data centers from the Dutch government would play a huge role in this rollout and stuff like that. So what happened, basically the roadmap for 2 years was implemented in 2 months, with the 2 weeks implementation of the Webex Cisco as a highlight, basically, because then it came to the end users. And then they were able to meet in a time frame where everybody needed to stay at home. But due to the fact that people had the vision to create a roadmap, it was far more easy. And then the role of Kim was quite crucial, because within the Dutch government, within the Netherlands, we all think we are right. And some people within the Dutch government as well, and they are not really aligned sometimes. And the role of Kim was amazing in that, because you need to align the people who have a saying in what to do. And that was done within a few days. So that was tremendously. And then, the implementation was done mostly remote by the group and ourselves, together with the help of the Dutch ministries and Kim's team. So that was basically the way it went.
So there was a vision. Go ahead, Kim.
The interesting thing is, Jean-Pierre and I have actually never met in person.
So wait a minute. Let me get this straight. You guys you've been able to coordinate this entire thing, all working without ever having met in person, all remotely.
We've never met.
That is astounding. That is astounding. it shows you the power, right, of what can be accomplished. And obviously there was a lot of planning and work, but all that work could be accomplished virtually. That is one I didn't know. So that is fantastic to hear. Kim, I'm curious. You talked about the Dutch government already had the culture of work flexibility, and that's great. But how? I mean, it sounds like there's now this added flexibility. Obviously, is in some regards right now permanent, or not permanent, but at least it's enforced, right, for the time being. So, do you see that added flexibility as something that has helped with employee morale? That, hey, I can work from anywhere and we can still be successful?
Yes, I definitely can see that in the long run, because before it kind of depended on where you were and also what your work was. Because if you had a meeting, usually you went to the office, and writing something or reading something you could do from home. So it really depended how much you were able to work from home on the task you have, but also on your manager, like if he believed that was true, or if the schedules for meetings were flexible. What I think does help is that everybody can see now with their own eyes that it's actually, we're able to work from home. Obviously there are some challenges, but it's not impossible, and we still can be very successful. And definitely because the first couple of weeks we were doing a lot by phone and working 8 to 10 hours a day on a phone only, that is actually exhausting. Looking at video, it's much better because you can see someone's face, or you can share your screen, and look at the same picture without saying, oh, I'm on page 26 at the bottom. That's very exhausting. So in that ways, I think it helps with morale, because it helps preserving your energy for the things that are actually important. And also I think it will do so in the future, because like you said, with travel time, a lot of the central government is in The Hague. It is dispersed throughout the country, but there is a lot in The Hague. And from my personal view, I have some colleagues who travel like 1.5 or 2 hours one way to their jobs. So if that's only for 1 or 2 meetings, I think it benefits your private life and your work-life balance very good, in a good way, if you can take 1 or 2 meetings virtually, and then saving you 3 to 4 hours of travel time in the train.
That's awesome. And you mentioned this a little bit, but I'm curious to know from you, what are the 2 or 3 lessons that you feel you've learned about how governing bodies can actually operate that you didn't realize before?
I think the most important thing is the higher level executives. They had some meetings like every month where they all got together, and now they do those virtually, and it actually works. But especially, those people have to travel long distances sometimes, also with bigger groups, because we did use video conferencing, but only in small settings, like 3 or 4 people. I regularly host a meeting with 25 technical architects. It's a wild bunch, but we do that over video now, and it actually works out quite well, and it saves everybody a lot of time. So that are some practical lessons learned, where we took it from a very small scale only to a much larger scale. But also I think the boost that we have now, looking at the numbers of meetings we do and everything, we couldn't have done that without the pandemic. And obviously those are never circumstances you can or want to even recreate. But it has taught me that your organization is also a very big critical success factor in remote working.
Jean-Pierre, I'm curious to ask the same question to you as well. I mean, what lessons have you learned that maybe you didn't even know before, or that you've seen other organizations realize because of the pandemic, or because this implementation that you've seen, people can work remote no matter where they are?
Well, I completely agree with what Kim just said, and I think we are able and capable to do far more than what we believe in. When we are conditioned in a certain way, we do our jobs in a certain way. And this disruptive thing proves to us that we can basically do far more than what we believe in or what we have been taught. So I think that's a crucial thing. And the bricks, bytes, and behavior part for us was crucial as well. We usually focus on the bricks and the bytes because the bricks are the buildings, how to furnish it, what room needs what application, stuff like that. The bytes is, of course, obvious, but the behavior part of the people, that's by far the most important thing. And the technology has to support the behavior and not the other way around. And that's exactly what we have been doing here. And now people are forced to do their work in a different way with new behavior, and we need to adapt to it as a technology provider. And in the near future, I am convinced that this will remain. And people really need to think, what is my job? Do I need to go to the office? Do I need to meet people? Do I need technology or whatever? And we are, forced to think about that rather than just go on, doing the same thing. That's basically what we have been learning. Especially what you just said, how we were able to do this remotely with the team. Well, that was great. When you would have asked this in December or January, I would have laughed at you because it's difficult. You need to align. You need to host people. And now we did it completely remote. That's crazy.
It's a powerful success story. It's absolutely fascinating. It's interesting because I think I'm working from home. Kim, you mentioned you're in your home office.
Yep.
Jean-Pierre, you're in the war room. It looks like at your office. And what we've seen is that we're working we're collaborating all virtually, but we're in a hybrid work environment, right? And so I'm curious also to get your perspective from both of you, really. And Kim, we'll start with you. Do you see remote work as a permanent change going forward, or kind of a hybrid operating environment as well?
So because for remote working to actually work out, it means that some behavioral changes had to be made. And the thing is that for me to be able to work from home, it takes you to have a video set in your office and have a digital meeting with the invite. And because everybody is so used to that now, I think we stand a great chance of actually keeping that in our day-to-day work. And also the central government is making good on its promise and really equipping the offices and the meeting rooms with what is needed to have that hybrid situation working.
Jean-Pierre, your thoughts on that? I mean, you mentioned kind of the bricks and the bytes and kind of that as a model going forward. And as you do a lot of the implementation, do you see the critical nature of keeping the office safe for when people come back to the office, making sure you have the insights, right, to make that a success? Do you see the same thing?
Well, I would even go a step further. I think the purpose of the office building is completely changing. The only reason to go to the office is to meet people in person. Otherwise, why would you go to the office? You can do all the other stuff wherever you want. So why take the 1 or 2 or 3 hours travel back and forth to the office if you don't need to meet people? So what we foresee is that the number of meeting rooms or the sizes of meeting rooms or the number of huddle spaces will get bigger in the coming years, because that's the only reason you go to the office. You need good coffee, you need good Wi-Fi, and you could need good technology to support that. So the entire furnishing of offices will completely be changed, in our opinion.
I like that. I think that makes total sense. And no longer is the vernacular where, hey, I got to go to work, meaning I've got to go to the office. It's just, I can work from anywhere. And the office and the role of the office is going to adapt and change. And how do the office environments adapt to meet those face-to-face specific meetings that are going to happen? We're not going there just to work. We're going there to actually have a specific face-to-face meeting for a specific purpose and reason. Okay, that's great. I know we're getting short on time. Our time is coming to a close. And so, Kim, I'd like to ask you what other advice would you share with governing agencies on how they can implement or start implementing some of the best practices that you guys have created in the Netherlands?
Well, the things we've learned most about is that people need, especially some groups of people, need a lot of support. I mean, the way we did it was a little bit the quick and dirty solution. So we, the groups differentiated a lot, where some people were able to figure it out on their own and get along with all the new technology. Other people, you know, felt a little bit left behind because they didn't get any training or instruction. Now we have like walk-in hours where you can just call in and ask a question about how can I do this. That works a lot. And also the whole hybrid situation, because hopefully we're never going to have a situation where everybody is working from home for more than half a year like we're doing now. I mean, it helps a lot with the adoption, but it's not how you want to do it normally. So I think you need to have a lot of time and effort put into adoption, because the technology, you can trust it to work. But then for people to change their behavior, it takes more than one trial.
Yeah, that makes sense. Jean-Pierre, any closing thoughts or advice you would like to leave about lessons learned or what you see happening in the future?
What I do, I didn't state yet, is that I want to thank the Cisco team, because due to their program that the governmental bodies were able to use this solution for months free of charge. Of course, helped in the fast adoption of the technology. That was a fantastic help coming from Cisco. That helped a lot. And I also want to emphasize the role Kim has played. That you need a kind of coordination without being very pushy. You need coordination and guidance. Basically, this is how we're going to do it. Because if you don't have that guidance, nobody's going to do it. And you have 10 different solutions on 10 different platforms, and then it won't work. So you need to choose your right solution. And what helped us tremendously was to focus on the privacy part, on where the data would be collected and stuff like that. And we felt the most secure with Cisco. There are 20 solutions out there, but we felt due to the privacy solutions Cisco is able to provide, we felt secure that we needed to go with Cisco. That's something we would like to state as well. So that's it from my side.
Well, this has been an awesome discussion. Jean-Pierre and Kim, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and sharing this story with us. And again, amazing that you guys could do this all without ever having met and get this up and running and implemented to maintain business operations and the government operations there in the Netherlands. So thank you both. We really appreciate hearing from you and look forward to hearing more of these great solutions coming to life in the coming years.
Thanks so
everyone. Thank you, Scott. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Our second session of this Future of Work event for the government is really designed around a new announcement that the Cisco Webex team made, a new solution for governing bodies. It's called Webex Legislate. And here to demo this solution and show us all the amazing great capabilities and features of it is Jean Rosauer. Jean, take it away.
Hey, thanks. I would love to talk about Webex Legislate, our purpose-built solution for legislatures globally. So many of you know that pre-COVID, many legislatures did not meet remotely, and some even had laws or rules requiring in-person meetings, and certainly for voting. And COVID changed all that. I mean, this is important work that had to carry on. So many started using our secure Webex meeting solution. We wanted to take this even further to give global legislatures an easy way to have sustained hybrid sessions today and into the future. So hybrid, where legislatures could be working from home and they could also be on the floor of the chamber and have equal participation. So whether it's the pandemic or the need to stay close to constituents, governing can carry on. So we work closely with Cisco Government Affairs and legislatures around the globe to make a 10x better experience, moving the traditions and policies online, but making them better. So for example, for moderators, more control, mute, hand-raising, profiles. So voter profiles can have full capabilities, whereas perhaps an observer has less capabilities. Voting, both anonymous and fully engaged. Timers, private hallway conversations, so private breakout room can be spun up and then broken down at the end of the session. Live interpretation and closed captioning so that everybody can be included. And then, of course, underlying all of this is the security you would expect from Cisco, plus a lobby for visual and data verification. But it's way better to see it than to hear me talk about it. So let's go on a tour. So here we are on the chamber floor. And I'm just going to give you a quick tour, and then we're going to start our proceedings. So at the bottom, you see all these very easy to read menu items. And you can raise your hand and see the order that you are in. And you can imagine how helpful this is. So if you have a large legislative body, you can see who's 1, 2, 3 and call them out in that order. So I'm going to take my hand down for now, and I'm going to keep with the tour. So on the people, you can click on the avatars to see a little bit of information about each person. You can click on the agenda and see everything that is teed up for this legislative session. So you always know where you're at. And that's also what this information bar is as well. If I come in late to a session, I can see what active agenda item is, if there's a speech going on, if there is a vote, so I know exactly what I'm entering into. There's also my rooms, and this is huddle rooms, and some of them are permanent, like the gold party and silver party. Imagine like a cloak room that's there all the time for the party to meet and have sidebar chats. But then I can also spin up individual huddle rooms that are kept private. Okay, and last I just want to show you this. So I can change the text. We have 16 different languages already. I can turn on or off an interpreter, and we'll demonstrate that. There's closed captioning, and we have ADA accessibility as well. But let's get right into a hearing. So I'd like to invite Stuart Rock to begin speaking, and I'll ask the moderator to put a minute on the clock.
Thank you, Jean. This is National Small Business Week, and I rise to celebrate the more than 30 million small businesses in the United States and the 50,000 that are in my congressional district.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. And I'm sure that was very compelling, but I want to move on to show that at that clock at 39 seconds, it will go down to orange and then red. So Stuart would know exactly how long his speech could be before he was potentially muted, or if extra time needed to be added to his space. So now let's move on, and I'm going to have another debate speaker come in. And so this time I'm going to invite the representative from Mexico, Albert, to speak. But because I don't know Spanish well enough, I'm going to invite an interpreter. So I get a drop-down option. I can have as many languages here as I want that have live interpreters. I'm going to choose English. And a box will open up and we'll search out for our English interpreter. And once we get our interpreter, I'll ask the moderator to put time back on the clock, and you can see how the interpreter feature works. Okay, there's our interpreter. The clock has started. So Albert, if you could speak for a few minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support resolution number 1234 for many reasons. This measure will better enable citizens to participate in digital skills.
So thank you.
As technology is
Thank
consistently
you, Derek,
advancing,
and thank you,
there's a
Albert.
continuous need.
So what you can see there is I use the slider switch, and if I wanted to hear the chamber and keep an eye on what's going on there, I could, or I could slide the switch and hear only the interpreter or anywhere in between. Okay, so now that we've heard the two debates, our clock is now counting down. And what we'll do is we'll start a vote. So moderator, if you could put the vote for all of us to see. Okay, so now I see the green vote now. I can get details about the vote and read up on what this is specifically. And it shows me that I have not yet voted, how much time I have left. So I'm going to vote now. I'm first going to say no. You know what? My ballot goes in the box. There's still time on the clock, so in this case, I'm going to change the vote. This is not an anonymous vote, but it could be. We also offer anonymous voting. This isn't, so I can call up details and see the voters here. And I can also see who's voting with me and who's voting against me. So I see Stuart Rock has voted no. I want this to be a unanimous vote. I can also see here by party that I do not have a unanimous vote. So I'm going to leave this section, and I'm going to invite Stuart for a private chat to try and convince him to change his vote. Okay, so I named this space, and I'm just creating this on the fly, and I'm inviting Stuart Rock. But I could invite as many people as I wanted to that vote. Now, I've created the space, and I am entering that private room where I'll be able to have a chat with Stuart. Did you notice that it went from blue to red? So that's letting me know that I am no longer in that public chamber space. I am now in a private huddle room that is just Stuart and I. So Stuart, I can try to convince you to change your vote. We can have our discussion. No one else knows that we're in here. They would see that we're missing from the chamber floor, but they would not know that we're in this private huddle room. That's for us. And now we'll return to the floor, simply putting the return button. And again, the color coding so that I know that I will be entering that public chamber. Okay, unmuting. And now we'll look up. It looks like Stuart changed his vote. So thank you very much for that, Stuart. I will ask the moderator to declare the vote so that it's official and that it's in the chain of custody. It's in the chain of custody that I switched my votes. It's in the chain of custody then that Stuart also changed his votes so that there is no official record for this legislature. And the vote has passed. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being part of this session and passing the vote. I hope you really enjoyed that tour. This is the future of work, that immersive experience online for legislators. So this is a great example of how our partners can make a huge impact in verticals. This is built by third-party partner Davra using our Webex SDK. So I'd really encourage you to learn more on webex.com on our government page. And really, thank you for your time.
Well, this has been an absolutely fantastic discussion around the future of work, specifically as we talk about it, what it means for government agencies, how they can enable remote work practices, how they can enable a hybrid work experience, and new tools and solutions to help these governing agencies get work done. We hope you've enjoyed this as much as we have, and we look forward to hearing more and discussing more on thefutureofwork.webex.com. Thank you, everyone.